woot woot. So yeah, I accidentally stopped the recording and that was getting long anyway. That's rug hooking. So yeah, time consuming, right? This sweater I made, this Afghan I actually did this border this year. So this is something I've made. That's all my yarn. And then I have more yarn on the floor over there. I got to organize that. I love yarn. Fiber Arts. I've made stained glass lamps. I haven't done a window yet, but a window would be easier. I have not done the dome shaped ones because that's crazy hard. You get like this styrofoam shape. So you will have a whole new appreciation the next time you go to your local pub, diner, or restaurant. If you look up and see stained glass lamps by your table, look at the shape. Is it rounded or is it like flat sides? I've done the flat sides. I haven't done the rounded because the flat sides, you can have a pattern and you can make it, it can be flat and you can solder all the pieces of glass together and then you assemble it. That I've done. I have made one, two or three. Wait, one, two, three. I've made 3 lamps. One was my design and it's somewhere in a box. I have to dig it out. And one of the glasses I used in one of mine changes color. So when it's off, it looks gray, blue, and then when you turn it on, it turns pink. And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. And I put bevels in it too, so it's pretty. That one has a crack in it. I dropped it. Was that my first ever one? I've done a few. What else? I used to make these like little luminary things. I've done like a square rectangle one with different sides where I did mosaics and then I soldered them together to put like a little tea light in them. I've done some where you glue the pieces of glass to a round thing and then you use plaster to grout it. God, those ruin your hands. Make sure you wear gloves if you ever tried that and you've never done that before because that grout, plaster, cement, all of that stuff, it just destroys your hands. Wear gloves. Wear gloves. I beg you, wear gloves. I've done sun catchers. What other art forms have I done? Painting on canvas. I have an oil painting that I started when my grandmother was teaching me when I was a little girl, and she had to finish it. I went through a phase in my 20s where I was learning how to sew, and I have some very cute dresses that will never fit me again somewhere. And my mom had to finish it because I got overwhelmed, and that wasn't for me. It's all about trying different things, you know. What else? I feel like I'm forgetting a large thing. Jewelry. Yeah, so if you want to talk about special interests, also, when is something a hobby and when does it enter the territory of special interests? Because I have both, or probably have both, ADHD and autism. At the very least, I have ADHD, but I might have both. I have things that you would consider a special interest. It becomes a special interest when you go through a phase. Like for me, if I had autism and I only had autism and I know for everyone it's different, from the content creators I've seen on here, and check them for yourself out in case I'm wrong or I'm missing something. And I think I've read about this as well, the difference, the neurodivergent difference between if you have ADHD versus autism for special interests. With autism by itself, it may be a lifelong passion, or it might be a couple of different things, but you'll be into something a lot longer. For me, I get into something, I'll be obsessed with it for a period of time to the point that that's all I want to talk about. So I remember going to a wedding, when I was in my 20s and I was in a relationship and I met this person's friends. All I wanted to talk about was astrology because I was into astrology. And I kept talking about it. We would go out and all I would wanted, it was a problem. I knew I was weird, but I couldn't help it. And I liked it so much that I thought, well, I'm going to try to be myself and see if people, I always felt like a weirdo. Yeah, I wasn't normal. Whatever you consider, I wasn't neurotypical. I just thought I was a weirdo. I was obsessed. And I went through that phase for years periodically. And sometimes I'll go back to it. It's very, very weird because the two sides of me are kind of argue about that. So I get into it and then I get obsessed. And I would stay up. I'd miss sleep. I'd be doing charts for people and I was obsessed. Yeah. But yeah, if something is so much of an interest that you would rather do that thing or talk about that thing than do other normal things, like if it starts to interfere with your life to the point that if you're at work or with a group, like you love that thing so much that you find yourself like they're talking about regular stuff and technically that's what you're supposed to be doing, but you could care less and you don't even want to be there and all you want to do is that thing that you're into. That's when it's a special interest, not a hobby. If it's something that's like interfering, like you're so narrow-mindedly obsessed with it that that's all you care about is that thing. And I've had different things in my life at different times. So, and some arts that I've been into have become that. So crocheting, 2 winters ago, I crocheted the entire winter long. I did not go out. I don't really have a lot of friends right now, not because I can't, but I have chosen to, I have a simple life and I'm happy with that. I would rather have a few close, authentic, genuine, deep friendships than many more superficial ones. And everybody's different, right? And neither is bad. I can't judge because there's people with different personalities from me and they want to do superficial. They have no energy left after work and family and all that. And that's good. That's fine. But yeah, I tend to be a little bit more introverted. But yeah, that winter I made a child's Afghan. I made a shawl for my my mother-in-law. I made the year before I made sets of hats and scarves for my sister-in-law, her husband, and her daughter, and my mother-in-law, and a bunch of people. Oh, and then I was like cranking them out for people at work. That's all I cared about. And my days off, I'd come in and show them yarn and have them pick colors, and that's all I did. But yeah, 2 winters ago, I did all of that. I made 3 sweaters for myself. Oh, and the year before, either that year or the year before, I started stitching this together. I think it was 2 Halloweens ago. I don't think it was last year. I think it was the year before. I don't trust my sense of time. But yeah, I remember I was watching the Scream series of movies while I was stitching these together. And that was like so nice. I was like all cozy on my couch and was like stitching all the squares together. Yeah, it's all starting to blend together. And I haven't been crocheting this season so much, but I have a new sweater that I started with these crazy colors, but we'll see how it comes out. And I finished the whole back panel and I got to the point where I've started to do one of the front panels here and here. So this is like the back, because I'm holding the phone up with one hand. This is where your neck goes, and this folds over, and this is going to be the front pattern. And then it's going to be stitched on the side here with a hole left to make a sleeve. So this is going to be a sweater for me. But yeah, I made like, once I find a pattern I like, I want a bunch of them. I want to make this sweater and I want a bunch of them exactly like it. Now, this was is this the first one I made? This was the first one I made that I could make a sweater. I had previously done 2 different attempts, and I didn't. You're supposed to do a swatch. You're supposed to do a little swatch to see your gauge, a gauge swatch. And what that means is, I'm not going to get into a thing. Crocheting is not like sewing. Fiber arts for size is not like sewing, because sewing, you cut out a piece of fabric and because it doesn't really give, and then you can stitch them together. But when you're crocheting, the way I crochet my stitches might be tighter than somebody else. Maybe I use different hooks. And so I might make the same exact pattern, use the same exact materials and the same exact hooks as somebody else. And my sweater might come out like 2 or 3 sizes smaller because if I pull my stitches tight. So what you have to do when you make a garment, and I was really overwhelmed because all I made before that was hats and scarves and blankets. But I really wanted to make a sweater. I've been crocheting on and off since I was like in my mid-20s. So for many, many years, I've been, of course, I think I went 10 years. When I first started to date my fiance, I wanted to, after like 6 months or so of dating him, maybe a year, I wanted to make him a blanket. And I wanted to make it a big blanket. I know better. And I did anyway. And it's beautiful. It's big. Actually, it's right over there. And I'll set some of my things that I've made out to do show and tell if you're interested. It's much more interesting than me yapping. But that ended up being such a beast to make because I wanted to make it queen size. And it took me so long. I think it took me like 6 months to make. And I had to spread all the squares out to, on the floor. And it was so wide that it was just like really hard for me to manage while I was stitching the squares together. And at the end, I never wanted to look at a hook or a skein of yarn ever again. And I did not look at a skein of yarn or a hook for 10 years. And then I kind of made up for it. Because since then, I've been like crocheting like a crazy person. Not so much this summer because I had that burnout and I've been in recovery. So I do like jewelry here and there because there's not a huge investment in time into opening up a spool of elastic and sticking a few beads on it, cutting it and tying it in a knot. How long does that take? 20 minutes? Whereas if you crochet a garment, if let's say I was working full time doing this versus a job, 40 hours, this would take me 2 weeks to make a sweater. So about 80 hours. And forget about these. That's why I was surprised that 2 winters ago I cranked out hats, scarves for coworkers, 2 small Afghans for kids. I still have one. I have one. I think I tried to do too much. I still have to. Oh, I did do 2. I completed 2. One for my niece, one for a cousin. It's kind of like a nephew. It's my cousin's son. And I have one for his sister that I didn't get to finish. And it's been a couple years now. And it's completed. I just have to stitch the squares together. It's actually in the hallway. Oh, it's super cute. Let me show you. Let me just show you this. This is the Afghan that I made for my fiance. You can tell it's been loved. It's got some pilling on it. But these are the colors he picked out. It's quite large. That's inside out. Oh, I'm making a Bruin sweater. I've been working on that for 2 years, so I've lost interest already. I'm bored. And there's like cat hairs from when we had cats. We lost our last kitty in February, I think. So I was making a Bruin sweater for Boston Bruins. There's one of my scarves I've worked at, some more of my yarn. And let's see. Here's a Halloween hat I started working on. Here's a Bruins hat I made. A couple of those. Oh, and this is the blanket that I started working on for my cousin's daughter. And I also started making one for my cousin who he's a teenager and he's got some health issues. And he's a sweetheart. And let's see. And his is going to be fluorescent because he loves bright colors. So I don't know if you can tell in this camera, but these are fluorescent. And then here is some more fluorescent yarn, and it's going to be lined in black. It's going to be cool. So yeah. So I have lots of projects, and is what I'm going to put. I have a bunch of large bulky containers with jewelry supplies. I'm thinking of putting them there. These are some of the scarves I've made. I started to fold them and set them aside, like in case I sell them. Yeah. When I lived in my previous home, I had everything organized on my bookshelf. So, and I know I can do it. We'll get there. We'll get there. Wow. Wow. See, for me, I feel like I've been talking to you for like 20 minutes. It's 11:45. I started filming. It's in 2 parts, but I started filming at 10:30. And I just want to go to sleep. I'm tired. But I don't want to do that because I'll get nothing done. And I want to do something today. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to finish drinking my coffee. I'm going to go get some lunch. I'm going to put down some information for the last few days. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure it out. I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you've enjoyed my show and tell. The next time I do it, I will do it in much shorter videos to make it. Oh. You want to see a snood? Ha 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 ha. Look at that. Oh, this is the beginning of one. So freaking soft. Here's like a pile of started scarves. Oh my God. Yep. This one I've actually been wearing. This one I made a few years ago. And see how small it is? And it's like, okay. And then, yeah, I've improved a lot since then. There's a row that's like super tight. Yeah, this is the pile of baby scarves. Then I moved on and they got to look like that. And that was for a coworker. Yeah, I've got tons of stuff in here. I went to an art class with a friend of mine earlier this year, and I did that painting. So lots of stuff. I have some fairy wings I started making and I never finished. I have a book I got at one point, How to Paint Your Shoes. So I have shoes that I painted to be the colors I wanted, not the colors they came in. Just got to be a way that I can organize this much more consistent, like shorter videos. But I'm just chit-chatting today, and I hope you guys have a great day, and I might come back so I can show you how the week's going, either today or tomorrow. We'll see how I'm feeling. My motivation's kind of low. Did a couple loads of laundry for my mom yesterday too. If you guys ever watch this, it'll be a miracle. But I love you. I love all of you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting me in any way, just showing up. If anybody you know relates to my content at all, which I'm new, so I'm just a girl with a phone. Tell them to check out my channel and maybe subscribe, support me. And that would be good, because as I get better and more organized and concise and short, digestible videos to help people with ADHD, which I want to do also, besides these like chit chat journal entry things. Yeah, it's going to be nice. When I'm done with the 30 days, it's going to be nice because then I can focus on putting more time into learning how to record and edit and make fun videos that are not going on for a long time. I love you guys. My brain's just fried now. I think I ran out of juice. I'm going to eat lunch. Love you. Bye.